Welcome to another episode of Creating Things Together. I don't want to say our names. What's your name, James?
My name is Jorge.
I am Christina.
I am Santiago Rojo.
Yeah. For a while ago, we thought that Santiago was...
Somebody told us that my name in Spanish was Santiago.
Yeah, but then I spoke to my friends from Mexico, and they were like, no, his name is Jaime.
Yeah, Jaime, right?
Jaime. I don't know.
Jaime Rojo.
Jaime de la Rojo. I don't know. Wow. This got off to...
So that's kind of fun, though. And I always thought that was my name because I used to hear it before.
I don't know why Santiago... I think it's like the Bible. Like James in the Bible is Santiago.
Yeah, I don't know. It's very strange.
Yeah.
But anyway, that has absolutely nothing to do with our topic today.
Hi, guys.
We're talking about...
Jeez.
We're going to talk about our trip to New York City.
Yes.
Our recent trip.
Before we do that, though,
yes,
I want to just right off the bat, I want to get out the gate running. I want to make sure to thank every single freaking human being who is listening to this podcast. I was absolutely blown away last week. Like, I did not expect anyone to listen, and we got really good feedback. Mm-hmm. So whether that was people just coming for one time or people who want to make this part of their week, thank you so freaking much.
And honestly, on the way took a trip to the desert, and on the way there, we listened to our latest podcast
because we're narcissists,
and I was actually really happy with it. I felt really good about the way that we spoke, the conversationalness, the sidetracks, the humor. I was like, this is good.
Yeah, at least for the first time. This one, I mean, we start at 0 every single episode. And it's only, it can go down from there. There's negative numbers.
Do you like to listen back to podcasts that you are in general?
Not necessarily, honestly. Okay. I've heard the conversation once. And I don't want to hear it again. But I have to because I edit this. But I will say, so for those of you who don't know, I work with Sara Dietschy, which will probably speak a lot about her in this episode, but I edit her podcast, and it's an in-depth process. For our podcast, I've been liking, and I was initially thinking that I would go a bit more hardcore on the podcast, but honestly, after editing Sarah's podcast for hours, I'm just happy with like slapping some audio together.
I love how simple it is to edit a podcast if you don't make it into a very complex process.
Yeah. Which I love editing. I like editing Sarah's podcast honestly more than I liked editing her videos because it's really interesting to listen to her.
There's nothing wrong with a podcast that has a lot of polish on it. That's fantastic.
But this is just this podcast is designed for you guys just to be sitting in our apartment with us, rambling and listening to us sing absolutely random songs and sometimes putting weird lyrics to them.
Yes. There will be plenty of that to come in the years to come in this podcast.
Hold on. Years?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. I did not sign up for that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, how are we going to beat Dr. Phil? He's on like episode 3000 or so.
James, I thought we were just doing 2 episodes of this. I thought this was the end. This is the finale.
Oh, wow. Oh, well, you know what? This has been just such a wonderful time.
Thank you, everybody. Goodbye.
We have tackled so many profound topics and changed the world. We received so many emails from people who said, I just didn't know if I was going to make it. And then I listened to your podcast. I listened to all 2 episodes of the podcast, and it absolutely changed my world. But yeah, did you know that, I told you this the other day, Dr. Phil has made like 3,000 episodes of his TV show.
Okay, first of all, you said 1,000 when you told me. So now we just multiply it.
Like off camera?
Yeah.
Off recording?
Yeah.
I think I said 3,000.
I'm pretty sure you said 1,000. But it makes more sense.
Let's go to the tapes.
This is going to be a changing day in your life.
We need to start recording audio in our house at all times so that we can reference back to our conversations. That'd probably create more problems, wouldn't it?
That would be fuel for arguments. That would be like, yeah, you said this. We love Dr. Phil, though. Shout out to Dr. Philip McGraw.
I just listened to him on the Joe Rogan podcast, and it was so much more interesting to listen to him in like a 3-hour increment as opposed to like 4 minutes and then a commercial.
I like to watch pirated.
All right, y'all. And then he walks off with his wife, and that's it.
I like to watch pirated versions of Dr. Phil where his voice has changed a little bit so copyright doesn't flag it. This is going to be a changing... You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. You have the little cartoon girl on the side, and it's like zoomed out, and there's like a weird background.
This is so unrelatable.
No, I think it is relatable to everybody out there who watches TV on the internet. And
they have to pirate everything.
They don't actually have cable because they're cable cutters, you pioneers, you. That's very relatable.
Yeah. So, New York.
Yeah, so the topic today is our recent trip to New York City. And
recent trip. It was 9 months ago.
I guess it was. Yeah. This is our first trip to... Well, no, you went to New York before, didn't you?
I went to New York 2011, 2012-ish.
With your family.
I went with my mom. At the time, my sister worked for Delta at like a call center, so we got free-ish tickets, but it was such a hassle. And I went to go visit my brother, who was living there at the time, and some family that I still have over there. New York was great.
Gotcha. By the way, I don't know if you guys can see I've been playing with the string on my pants as I've been talking. I didn't know if that looked strange, and I felt like I needed to address it. So
yeah, that's weird.
It's just I was enjoying.
Get your hands out of your pants,
twiddling
James.
With the string.
No twiddling your pants. So New York was great.
With your dinghy.
Quit playing with your dinghy, boy. Why do we say that?
So it's a reference from a movie, I think from Tommy Boy. It had us.
Okay.
Who was the?
I have no idea.
Who was the bigger guy who used to be on SNL? He died.
Oh, Chris Farley.
Chris Farley. He was in that movie.
Oh, okay.
And I think it was Tommy Boy.
Gotcha.
He was on a dinghy. Okay, so we wanted to talk about my first trip and her second trip to New York City. Any other trips I don't know about?
I don't think so.
And I wanted to we wanted to talk about it through the lens of the power of travel and changing your environment, because travel has profound effects. And in the words of the late, great Anthony Bourdain, it leaves marks on your memory, on your consciousness, on your heart, and on your body. And I think that's a fantastic way,
I'd say,
to sum all of that up.
The word consciousness is like, if I were in a spelling bee, I would just walk off the stage. I would say, no, thank you.
That's a crazy word.
Can you spell consciousness? No, I can't spell consciousness. Nope. I'm a millennial. Get out of here. No, I think that's a really, really good quote. That's, let's see, on your memory. Yeah, because you remember things. Right. On your consciousness. Because you're conscious.
And we could touch on each one of these for 30 minutes, I feel like.
On your heart. I have a heart. And on your body. I have that too. So I just hit all 4 topics right there.
And this New York City trip is no exception to that quote, I think. I want to talk about the story, first off.
Yes.
Of how we went there, why we went there, what was it for, who were we there to get to know more, who were we there to not get to know more. And that was most of the people there.
It's like the entire
the rest of the city,
of
other than 3 people.
Yeah.
So, Christina.
Yes.
Why did we go to New York City in the first place?
Okay, background behind New York. 2018 April. That's how they read it in Europe.
I thought you were going to do the background on the entire state of New York.
No. I don't know that, and I don't want to learn that.
Oh, okay.
But I do know a lot about
history podcasts that can fill you in on that.
The meat packing industry. Anyway, so last April, the friends that we have in New York were hosting a creator pop-up and a live podcast. As aforementioned, Sara Dietschy has a podcast. At the time, it was called The Creative Exchange. Now it's called That Creative Life. And
you have to do the hand wave as she just did while you say it. It's trademarked.
Yeah. So I've been working with Sara for quite some time. So I texted her. I was like, "Hey, girl." Emoji face.
Sup, fam?
Hey, fam.
Hi, squad.
Do you want to get so lit off of creativity and NYC swag?
Yeah.
That was not the text message. But I just texted Sara. I was like, "Hey, I think James and I are going to fly out for the pop-up. Do you need any help?" Now, I think we were planning on flying out, but something Christina would do is say, "Hey, we're going to fly out. and actually not have tickets planned to fly out. But, you know.
That is something you would do.
But you speak it into fruition. I think we were going to end up actually buying tickets. Okay, first of all.
Well, there's a certain comfort that comes with.
Sorry, my phone vibrated. That's why I said first of all.
Just deciding, hey, we're going to figure this out. Like,
yeah.
It's just a good opportunity.
There's so much peace that comes to mind when it's like, you know what? Yes. And then you do it. And then things fall into place. And sometimes things don't fall into place. So don't get twisted. A lot of things fall into place
just because you have to make them fall into place. And that's actually
because you have to pay rent.
It's a really helpful mode to be in. If you put yourself in a bit of a pickle, this is a good.
I don't know. This is good advice, James.
No, this is great advice. Put yourself in pickles continuously. Now, I'm not saying go into massive debt. Don't get like some sort of hit put out on your family from the mafia or something like that. But put yourself into manageable pickles so that you will be present in your mind and decide to make things happen that normally you would not have the motivation to.
Yeah.
But if you don't do it, it won't happen. Right. So that's your motivation.
Right. But that was not the situation.
Pickles.
Pickles.
Can we just call it episode Pickles?
Pickles. Anyway, I texted Sarah and she was like, yeah, actually I need help that day, so I'll fly you out. And James was editing for John, and John texted James and was like, hey James, my name's John.
I think I told him I was coming.
I don't think so. I think John texted you and was like, hey, Sarah said Christina's coming. I think I need your help too. So they ended up flying us out.
I don't remember.
They ended up flying us out to New York.
They flew us out, by the way.
I said that like 7 times, James.
I was emphasizing that point. They flew us out.
I said it 7 times. I think it was emphasized.
I'm emphasizing that point.
Emphasis.
They
James, did they fly us out?
They were the ones that flew us out.
Okay. So we're really big deals.
And I was like, on the way there, I was like, Sarah, do you know how to fly? And she was like, she's playing with the joystick. And I was like, hey, I don't know if we're going the right direction. And, you know, we made a couple loops around South America and we made it.
I'm really impressed. Like, so much talent.
So much talent.
Yeah. Anyway, we flew to New York.
Who knew she was a creator and a pilot?
It was great. And yeah, we just had 3 days. We ended up missing a flight. Long story that we'll get into a little bit later on in the podcast. But I was so stoked to be there, number one, because I knew James would love it. Because James, at his core, is a street photographer. A lot of people may not know that at this point, but he likes to walk up to random people and give them take pictures of them and stuff.
It's a huge part of my background. I love street photography.
Yeah, and
now it's branched into other forms of photography that are basically just street photography with a different skin.
So he takes pictures of white people and brown people. He's
very diverse.
After marrying me, he has spread his wings from being in an all-white community of picture takers to a non-all-white community.
Yes. Yes. I added in 1 or 2 colors and I'm moving on to all the rest. So. Wish me luck in my travels.
Anyway, I knew James would be absolutely enthralled in the city.
Ooh, good word.
Yeah, girl.
That's a good word.
And yeah, I just knew you would like it. So that's why one of the reasons that I was excited. I was excited for another reason because obviously we'd be hanging out with our friends in New York and just the energy of the city. It would be great. We actually were staying in the 368 office, which was fun. We ran into Casey.
Yeah, we were staying in the office building next to 368. Like the storefront that's now there.
No. That's actually 368.
What?
If you guys want a little bit of tea, the actual...
I just want to differentiate for them that they don't... Because he has a storefront with windows on it that you can now walk into, I believe.
But it's not called 368. So let me just
369?
369. Get low. No, okay. So details on 368.
Okay.
Their office, I don't know if I should say their address. I mean, I feel like Casey, well, honestly, it's not their address anymore. Anyway.
I don't think the address is probably the most important part of this story.
No, it is because
is it?
The building 368 is 368 Broadway, which is Casey Neistat's office, John's office, Sarah's office,
knows
like
where
everyone.
It is at this point.
So that's the office. The office next to it is not actually 368. It's like 362 or something like that.
Okay.
It's just called 368.
So they call it 368,
but that's not
even
the
though
actual
it's not
address.
the actual
address. It's just a branded address because it was the old Beam offices.
So okay, so
riveting
I guess
content.
Point is, we stayed in the same office building as Casey Neistat, but we stayed in Sarah and John's at the time office. Now Sarah's actually moving to another office that's bigger than this office, but they allowed us to stay there free of charge. We slept on a couch. That was pretty nice.
It was great. I was planning on
paying. It was dark there at night, even though it is in New York City, but like the windows were like they pointed out to
an alley.
So
I was planning on paying for the entire thing. Like, okay, well, great. They covered our flights. Well, let's pay for a hotel.
Right.
We did bring pillows and a blanket because we wouldn't have had that. Mm-hmm. But no, it was very kind of them. And they've always been super kind folk when we hung out in Vegas. They're just salt of the earth kind of humans.
They're good people.
Yeah.
They're good people.
Yeah.
Good people.
We're good people.
It felt like I had sounded like Obama there for a second, so I had to be Obama, you know. Sometimes you have to just be Obama. Okay, so one of the things that was so insane about this trip was the fact that it was 3 days nonstop minus like a little bit of sleep.
We got some pretty good sleep that one night that we slept. The first night.
The second night.
I don't count that a night as...
We slept.
Okay, I don't count the first night as a sleep because that wasn't a night. That was a plane ride. We took a red-eye flight.
I apologize. Our first night when we actually made it to New York City, like that was
really good sleep. What are you talking about?
I'm sorry. We got good sleep once we got there. But yes, leading up to that was like a full 24 hours or something.
Yes.
Almost no sleep.
Yeah.
I don't sleep on planes. I physically can't.
Yeah. At the time,
Christina can sleep in a friggin' fire.
At the time, I was working, so I worked all day. And then later on, we hopped on the plane and tossed and turned. When I sleep on planes, I sleep at like in 20-minute intervals. Mm-hmm. It's not fun for me either. Red-eye flights.
Yeah. Well, I'm not saying it was a glorious experience for you.
Yeah.
You actually struggle to get good sleep on a nightly basis, just in general.
I get mediocre sleep at all times.
Unless
we
go to a hotel, right?
Oh, dude, I love hotel beds.
Then you just, which apparently a lot of people actually, you know, the fun part about that is that I actually look kind of like that kid when I was younger, but
fat and freckled.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really mean.
No, I wasn't fat.
You were round.
I was round when I got into like middle school, but
James hit a round phase when he was puberty.
Slender Flender.
Slender
Flender. Where was I?
I have no idea.
Oh yeah, apparently people actually struggle to sleep in hotels, but you're the opposite.
I love sleeping in hotels. Yeah. Sponsor me, hotels. Let me sleep in your beds.
Mm-hmm.
Weird.
So that was semi-challenging and exciting at the same time. It was challenging in like a really exhilarating kind of way, but there were points where it was like, okay, we're really tired. Mm-hmm. But what made that work, what made that not become a horrible experience of tiredness, was that we were up on our feet. Like we were just going. We
only got tired when we sat down. When we went to the Hint House and sat on those couches, I was just like, okay, I'm done. But we had to keep going. So we got up, started moving. It was good.
We hit the futon exhausted. We'll just say that.
Gosh, yeah.
And that was fun. That was an introduction into the insane energy that was to come in our time in New York City. And that was one of the major things that left marks on our memory and our consciousness, our heart, and on our body was the pace of everything. And people say this all the time, but I think we were at an interesting epicenter of creators, young creator folk who are the hustler types. And there was just, everybody was moving around. There was people running through the streets. There was dancing like you see in the musicals, you know?
Our pets' heads are falling off.
People were hanging off of fire escapes, and it was like Rent. I've never seen that movie.
Yeah. What are you describing right now?
That's a more exaggerated version of what was actually going on, but it was very energetic. And there was so much productivity happening around this event, and I think we both felt so inspired by that.
We were in our happy place.
We were in a very happy place, yes.
Yeah.
And it was just, something was always happening.
Mm-hmm.
That was nice. And what it did was, first off, you have to understand that that's not always going to be the case.
Right.
You're going to,
and that's not all the case. That's not always all the case in New York either.
Right.
Like Sarah was like, "Yeah, this is an unusually busy day." I was like, "Okay," because this is insane.
Right. For Sarah and John, that's even not the case. Like that was a very busy day.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I loved about being around them was watching them do the next day, which was a much more normal day, I think.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's backtrack.
Okay.
Because I really enjoyed that day with them. I didn't spend very much time with John or anything because you were with him, I was with Sarah. But essentially what my job was to be Sarah's D-Rock for the day. Mm-hmm. And she had a panel, and then later on she went to the pop-up for a couple minutes, and then she had the live podcast that she filmed. So I helped film all of that, and the intense part of that for me was honestly just trying to keep up with her physically, walking. She walks so fast, and granted we were a little bit late for that panel at NYU, but it was like watching, and this is one of my favorite things to do externally with other creators, not just with Sarah, but I love watching other people's creative workflows. Whenever, like, if there's a screen recording on, somebody's doing a video, I like to pause the screen recording and see how people organize their files on their computer. Just because I like to see how efficient people are and, taking that and applying it to my creative workflow. And it was so fun, basically right before we started filming, Sarah prefaced, she's like, "Look, I'm gonna just take the camera from you. It is nothing personal, but I'm just gonna take it from you, tell you exactly what I need, and then we continue." And I love that, and I tried to do that a bit more with our stuff, whether it's okay, James, I need you to take this picture for me. I have a very specific vision about the picture or the shot or whatever that we're trying to do, and then I hand you the camera. I need you to take this. This is the idea. And then you take it and it's like, oh, God, this is not what I wanted. So I will then tell you, go stand where...
Because my vision was infinitely better, but...
No.
It just wasn't the same as yours.
No.
So I'm just glad we understand that.
No. But so I'll take exactly the kind of picture that I want, and then James will put his little James tweaks. He'll angle it a certain way to give proper perspective and stuff.
All about the angles.
And then you get the bangers. So
get your power stance on.
Ooh.
Oh yeah.
Hey.
The more you spread your legs, the better the photo is. That's my rule.
That can go so wrong and so
for the photographer.
For the photographer. Not for the.
Yes, I want to be very clear about that.
Anyway, so that was really fun and inspiring to learn from. I'm sure you had similar situations.
No.
Okay, cool. So day 2 was really fun because I rode a boosted board in New York, which...
before we get to that, can I just talk about what I found to be so interesting about their productivity on day 2?
Well, I was just going to say New York is just a dangerous place to try to survive.
Yes.
On a bicycle on a boosted board. I saw something on Twitter a couple seconds before shooting this.
Yes.
That a messenger got hit by a bus or a car or something like that.
Yeah.
And died.
Yeah.
It was a hit and run.
That's terrible.
So
I was going to make a joke, but then you actually brought up a real story.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, I'm going to hold back on that now.
Yeah, good job.
That's really terrible.
Yeah, no, that's really bad. So shout out to all you guys.
Eyes out messengers and just general creative boosted board 18-year-olds.
Be safe out there, fam.
Be safe out there.
Okay, what were you going to say?
On the second day, well, first off, my role was at the event on the first eve, was I kind of fandangled my way into being John's shooter while all the people were walking up to him, saying hello. He was signing boards. They were, he was licking their board so that they could feel like he licked their board for all of eternity. It's like, I'm never going to wash this board again.
Because people wash their skateboards all the time, right? It's like a normal thing to do. Yeah, just take showers with it. I just want to make sure the trucks...
You gotta put it in the washing machine every now and then.
Gotta make sure the trucks are squeaky clean.
It goes through all sorts of chaos and sadness. So, I filmed for him at the event, and that was fun all throughout this time. Like I said, we're feeling energy. Then the next day came around, and that was more of a normal day, and that one was a really interesting day for me because I got to actually pay attention to what Sarah and John were doing on that.
I don't think we actually hung out with Sarah on that second day.
But that's exactly my point.
Yeah.
Is we knew that they weren't just sitting at their apartment eating Cheetos.
Yeah.
They were running around going to meetings, or John was editing at coffee shops. I mean, John was barely in the office, right? Constant action and movement, and you just can like fill in the gaps, and you're just like reading a book. You can create an imaginary story of what they're probably doing as they're running around. And so meanwhile, we're hanging out in their office, working on a couple of things, and then we would go out, and I went on a photo walk, which is just spectacular because a street photography photo walk in New York City is one of the best photo walks you can have on Earth. It is very much the center of the universe for street photographers. One of them, right? You have other places, big old cities and
like Augusta, Georgia.
Like Augusta, Georgia.
Shout out to the CSRA.
Oh my God.
Some really powerful street photography there.
This is how I would describe my relationship with Augusta, Georgia. I used to have to go to Augusta, Georgia because it was the closest city to me to do street photography. And I have some romantic memories there, but not like
who the hoe is.
Yeah, not like relationship moment, but
you probably do. We went to there all the time.
Oh, with us?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I thought you were going to anticipate that I meant like other romantic memories.
James, I am your romantic memory. Get it right.
So yeah, watching that was really spectacular, and just trying to fill up our day with the same amount of productivity was fun. And when I came back, I came up with this phrasing. Maybe I came up with it when I was there, actually, that I feel like I drank jet fuel and came back to Utah and went into this world of the normalcy. But now, because I drank said jet fuel, metaphorically, jet fuel will probably kill you if you physically ingest it. Although I have not read the studies, metaphorical jet fuel.
I would say it would kill you, yeah.
It
or you start flying.
I got this like rush of like, let's do this. Let's keep this New York City thing going here. And now it's like, what happened?
Yeah, so, now we're just sitting around talking into microphones.
We were very much inspired by that.
Yeah, it was absolutely fantastic.
And another thing was that we felt like we were in the center of the universe, from the perspective that these people were creators that we follow on a daily basis, and they're right where we want to be, and we're right where we want to be with them, if that makes sense.
I wouldn't describe my experience like that, but I get what you're saying, so I'm not contradicting it.
Yeah, for me, it felt like we were in the place that we always think about for just a couple of days.
Yeah. But we're not like, granted, we're not like trying to live in New York, because New York winters are insane. Yeah. But on a mental and on a hustle headspace, ooh, that's a shirt. That's not a shirt. That's a stupid thing. That's a hat.
It's like
hustle headspace, and it's a hat.
We should.
Okay. You don't like that idea.
Our next, we're going to go into an interlude now so our camera doesn't implode, and she's going to give you an ad about the Hustle Headspace hat that we've yet to develop. Or something else, whatever you say.
If you've made it to this point in the podcast, I'd like to say thank you again for listening to our podcast. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate the feedback. If you haven't yet already, please rate and review it on Apple Podcast. That feedback means a lot to us. Number one, because we are obviously really interested in your thoughts and some of the questions or topics you may have. That would be a good place to leave those comments. And number two, it helps us in the algorithm, and shout out to those algorithm gods. New York was a fantastic experience. I'm excited for you guys to listen to the second half of the podcast. If you haven't seen the New York vlogs that we shot while we were there, I would highly encourage you to do those. Do those? What? I would highly encourage you to watch those. I'll leave the links to those in the show notes so you can have a more visual experience as opposed to listening to our smooth, sultry voice. With that said, enjoy the second half of Creating Things Together.
Wow, Christina, thank you for that. You sure do have a way with words.
You're so stupid. He tried to say that 3 other times before starting this part of the podcast.
So now I want to move on to talking about what we learned from, the relationships that we were able to build and nourish in that time.
I think it's so easy to really solidify a relationship IRL versus the internet. Obviously, the internet and Twitter, and you've heard me preach on that a million times. But the internet's a good place to start things, but nothing beats interacting in real life with, whether it's somebody that you want to network with, somebody that you want to be their genuine friend. We've met some of our best friends on the internet because we would have FaceTimes because, that's a real life interaction. And obviously building those relationships with people like Sarah and John. I hung out with Cody and Sarah, which you haven't actually hung out with that much yet. And I'm James, I think you would get along so well with Cody. I
think I would get along with both of them. And listening to their podcast. They have a great podcast, by the way. Check out theirs. Deeply Curious podcast.
I think Cody is like that person that you can just talk with for hours about just endless intellectual things, and you and Sarah could sit quietly together and be introverted.
just not talk and stare off into space and just be in pure bliss.
Yeah.
No, I like her. Her mind is a lot like my mind in a lot of ways. I think it's just kind of smart. It's curious and it's deeply curious. I'm not a reader. I think she's a reader.
Yeah. But
although I forget, is she a reader?
She reads a lot.
I think we're similar to both of them in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
but that's cool. You got to hang out with them and make a video.
Yeah, we made a video talking about setting goals and stuff, and then hanging out with John was really nice. Who else?
This whole time I was out doing a photo walk.
Yeah,
being all introverted.
Yeah, I got to be one of the bros, one of the skater bros.
Yeah.
So
you got to ride the boosted board. I got to navigate the New York City subway system alone, which was we could have put that experience for me in a movie. It would have been a scene of me trying to overcome. It's like the funny. Right. I'm looking around in slow motion, looking at the map. My eyes are just filled with confusion. I look over to the person next to me. They look like they know what they're doing. They've lived in New York City for long enough.
Oh my goodness.
They know about the New York. Let me ask them. I actually had to ask the locals.
Yeah.
I asked a police officer. I think I asked a girl, once I got underground, hey, is this train going the right direction?
Yeah.
Problem is, once you get on the train, it starts going.
Yeah.
You can't just, hey.
Yeah, you're screwed.
Can we stop at the end of the platform?
Yeah.
It's you're going all the way down.
Yeah.
All the way down. You're going to Jersey.
Okay.
Babe.
Okay.
So,
even if you're going north. James,
all of them go to Jersey.
When James came out of the subway terminal, he was like, "I did it!" And he was really excited. Yeah. And I was like, "Okay, who's this?"
It was big.
He must not be from New York City. Ooh.
It was big. So you got to build that relationship. I got to spend a little bit of time with John. You got to spend a little bit of time with Sarah
and Jeannie. We can't forget about Jeannie.
That was another one. Oh, I got to meet Kelsey, our friend. She was a bike messenger.
I wish that I got to spend more time with Kelsey.
And we got to have a lovely little conversation at the event. It was she's also an introverted, curious type of person, and so we got to have a nice little conversation. I forget exactly what it was about, but we just
probably bagels. Honestly, I think it was it would make sense that would be about bagels.
Sure.
You love bagels, and I'm sure she does too, because she lives in New York.
Sure, and I wasn't gluten-free then. I had not gone through the great threshold of pain and stomach sadness. But, what was I going to say after
We were building relationships with new people. We got to hang out with Kelsey and meet new friends. I would say we we definitely solidified some friendships, but I think we started some friendships there too, which is amazing because you, number one, have a free place to stay whenever. Do you want me to stop talking?
I found it.
Okay, go
ahead.
I
was just letting them know and
fine.
Keeping them in the loop that I found it.
Yep. Okay, thank you. So go ahead and interrupt
I
me.
was just going to say that the Twitter, the internet, is like you can sort of turn on the flame, like the little pilot light that we have in our water heater. I don't think we have it in our new one, but in our old one we had. Well, it's probably there.
Why you gotta tell people all about our water heater business? Like nobody needs to know about like our water heater.
Yeah, that's like pretty personal.
That's how people hack into your like refrigerator.
I apologize. I will say no more about the water heater except that there's a thing called a pilot light that is a little tiny flame.
People don't need to know all about our flame.
They don't need to know about our pilot light. It's a little tiny flame that just consistently sits there. We found it when we were in our last apartment. We thought, hey, we're about to die. The house is going to catch on fire.
We thought we had like a gas leak and called James's dad like, hey,
there's a fire
inside. There's a fire in the apartment. And he's like, where? I don't know. I think it's the water heater.
Or was it the water heater?
No,
it was just the heater.
No, it was a water heater.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't tell them apart.
And then when we went to, this is totally off topic. When we went
this
to
is why we rent, by the way.
Yeah. This is, so my sister's house, remember? They were doing some stuff on their HVAC. And I guess their heater, something was messed up with it. And it's a gas-powered heater. And they opened it up and a flame came out.
Oh, my gosh.
Wait.
I remember this now. Sorry, I didn't even know what
it
situation
looked
you were talking
like a rocket. Like, you know when, like, space goes off? Like, when you're going off to space? You know what I'm talking about?
Space goes off.
Yeah, James, rocket ships. Don't play dumb. You know what I'm talking about, right?
You know when space goes off.
You know what I'm talking about,
if
right?
Space goes off, we're all dead.
Oh my gosh, James.
Yes, when they launch a shuttle into space.
Yes, when they launch a shuttle into space, you know how like it goes. And like that's what it looked like. I don't know. Like flames are insane.
Yeah, and see, I didn't see this flame, so I
flames
think Christina
are lit.
Was probably like on some ayahuasca or something. She
Did you hear that in a podcast this week or something?
Yeah, I've learned about it. Takes you to alternate dimensions, but. Anyway, Twitter is like the pilot light. It's just a consistent flame that you once you start it with somebody, you can sort of allow that to be maintained through your relationship on Twitter. When you go to a physical place with someone, you spend time with them. You get to have just maybe a 10-minute conversation with them, 5, 3 even, maybe even 9 seconds.
Hello. Takes and you just run away.
It takes that pilot light and turns it into a raging flame. You get to build a more flourishing and passionate relationship with that person,
which you don't want to have
like
in
a business
your water
relationship with that person. And that is why being in person is so important sometimes, as well as being on the internet. I don't think that I wouldn't go as far to say, as a lot of people do, that being on Twitter is not like real interactions. It's not real relational interactions. I think it is. It's just a different genre of relational interactions.
Yeah, you've got GIFs.
And then there's GIFs, and then that's a good way just to hack the whole system. You send a GIF to somebody like, I like this guy.
James has the most outrageous GIFs. Like, he sends them, and it just makes me go like, James, why do you go on the internet? He spends like
I know
he spends literally like
I'll
30
spend
minutes
10 minutes replying to John Prosser
30 hours and it's just like, James, just search a word and choose the first one. He will search and search and search and search.
Well, see, the problem is you don't want the first one because everybody's going to use the first one, right? So you got to scroll down. You got to give it good 3 scrolls, and you have to look through and find which one hits this like nice, I think it's called a Venn diagram, or I don't know. It hits a nice
if you didn't hear last episode, James was homeschooled.
Between all these qualities, these different qualities that you want to hit, uniqueness. Also, is it poignant to what the person was actually saying?
Can you spell poignant?
Poig.
Spell poignant.
NANT, I think.
Say it again.
I know that's reckless.
POIGNANT.
So obnoxious.
I killed it. I've always been good at spelling, guys. She likes to rag on me for being homeschooled, but in your face. Although our budget meeting this morning kind of confused my brain a little bit.
I had to explain to him what a 1099 was. I was like, okay, imagine that the government...
wasn't what you were explaining to me.
Close your eyes and imagine that the government doesn't know that you have money. The 1099 tells the government that you do have money. Oh my goodness.
No, you were explaining some really complex stuff around the 1099 that I was confused about. That's what was going on.
I'm sure. They need to teach that in like real school.
What was one of the things that you pulled away from watching, Sarah?
I liked her focus. Her focus was really nice. She had great focus on. No.
Like she nailed the focus with her camera every time?
No.
Or like her motivational focus?
Motivational focus for 4,000 Bobby.
Okay.
What is motivational focus? No, it was really inspiring. It made me want to obviously be more focused. Mm-hmm. I do a lot of looking at other people for inspiration, and I go, okay, let's just use Gary Vee for example. The universal, he's like the, what's that thing? The placebo. He's like the baseline. I don't think the word was placebo.
Placebo.
He's like the placenta. Okay, so he's like the
placenta of the internet.
he's the baseline for like hustle, right?
Okay, sure.
Or I wouldn't even say baseline. He's like the peak.
Yeah, he's the pinnacle.
He's the pinnacle of hustle, right?
Which is a fun word. Pinnacle.
So you look at Gary and you go, okay, what is Gary doing right now when you're scrolling on your phone? Interacting with Sarah and, documenting her day and just being part of that whole experience makes me go, okay, whenever I'm not being focused, okay, Sarah's probably being focused right now. I need to step up my game because if I want to execute at this level, at level A versus level B, I need to act as if I'm at level A. Mm-hmm. That way I can get there. Mm-hmm. So, and that's a lot of what 2019 is for me, is acting as if. I want to execute as if I'm at, $10 billion. That's a lot of money. Honestly, I don't even think I would ever want to make that much money. Like in a year, that's a big burden.
I would.
10 billion?
I'd be down with that.
I would run out of things to spend.
I'd figure out some way to, I don't know.
I
don't know how it would change me. I think that I have a strong enough character to handle it.
I could tell you right now that you've changed.
It would just be nice.
You used to drink coffee, now you drink tea. With your bougie self.
That's for my tummy. It would be nice.
I'm sure it would be nice, but like I could
we could retire.
But I don't even want to retire.
No, our dream has always been to move to Florida and sit on the beach and not work or do anything.
That sounds miserable.
And just eat ice cream.
Oh, that sounds great. I want freaking ice cream. You've been talking about ice cream all week, and I've been wanting ice cream.
Dairy-free ice cream, and we just get to sit there forever.
and ever. And ever.
Retirement is of zero interest to me, by the way.
Well, same fam. I want to be hustling till the day I die.
Like if I retire, I'm probably just going to retire to another thing that's creative and productive.
Here's my goal for retirement. I want to retire from having to make money. I just have the money and then I get to work and not have to worry about money. So I guess 10 billion. 10 Bs, whatever. 10 Bs pocket change.
I think at that point with our current lifestyle, that would be the spot where we would be like, okay, we're comfortable, 10 bill.
10 bill. 10 bill. Yeah.
10.
Yeah, 10 bill. He's a good guy.
10 B.
Yeah, what up, bro? You get 10. Do you even like 10 B, bro?
You making 10, bro?
Yeah.
You making 10 yet?
Actually, I made 11, brother.
What are we doing?
I have no idea.
I want to talk about our last day.
I want to talk about 10 Bs, bro.
Well, our second to last day. That was supposed to be our last day, but then we missed our flight.
Yeah, that was fun.
We waited outside in cold New York City, which is way worse than cold Utah. And we waited for... Well, initially we were going to hop on a subway first, or we were going to get an Uber first?
So we were going to go on the subway to get to the airport, but we ran out of time. And then we went to get an Uber, and that didn't work out. And then we just went on another subway train. And
so I want to stop at the part where we were waiting for the Uber, and he was just kind of slowly hovering around us on the map.
Yeah.
And he wasn't actually coming towards us at one point. And then we were just like, this is terrible.
Yeah, the Uber driver got lost and basically bailed on us. I was like, okay, cool. So long story short, we missed our flight. We went on a train ride with, I wanted to call him Rodney.
You're going way too fast, Christina.
Well, I mean, it's not that interesting. We were just
the subway train.
We were just standing outside.
We were standing there. There was a moment when we realized that we were probably going to miss our flight, and I think that was before we made it to a subway to even get to the airport.
Yeah. Well, the moment that you...
So we rode the subway the whole way there going...
We just missed the flight.
We probably missed the flight.
Which is a really...
We have to go deal with it.
It's a really peaceful point. It's like, okay, well, the flight's gone. Whatever. And... if you're not familiar with traveling, you have to get to the airport within 2 to 4 hours, I believe, after the flight left. That way you can, get them to get you on another flight. So we're just like, whatever.
Which is an enormous waste of resources. I feel like you could just send a text.
No, because then people are just going to miss their flights. You have to at least show that you tried to get to the airport.
You
could take advantage of the situation.
You get benefits from actually making it there. As opposed to going like,
that
makes way more sense. I'm sorry, James. That was bad. You shouldn't have done that.
What? Are you talking to yourself?
Yes.
Okay. Cool.
I do that from time to time.
All right.
It's good for a healthy mind.
I actually don't think so. But when we got to the airport,
you, Christina, not think so?
I don't think so.
James thinks so.
Why do you just get on my nerves all day long? This is Creating Things Together, the show where James irritates Christina for an hour straight.
I love you.
Sure you do.
I do.
You sure do.
I really do.
Yeah. You are amazing. And this is... Hold my freaking hand, James.
I'm so sorry.
This is all comedy.
This is how we hold hands, by the way.
If you're watching...
One on top of the other.
If you're listening down to the podcast, I'm sorry that you can't see this. What the heck was I even talking about?
Well, we made it to the airport. We realized that we were going to miss the flight.
Oh, yeah. And then do you want to talk about the guy that hustled us?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That was irritating.
So we were on our way back out to... This was... Yeah, because this was on the way back to
Do you
Sarah's
actually
thing.
remember?
Sorry. We were on our way back out the door after considering getting on a train, and then we were like, screw this for some reason, right? And then we went, okay, let's just get an Uber. We wanted to try to not spend that money, but we were like, let's just get an Uber back to Manhattan,
which is $70 freaking dollars.
Yeah, and that was
expensive.
Hence the reason why we weren't making 10 yet, bro. So we were walking out the door, and there's this guy. He's like a fast talking fellow. He was trying to get us.
You want a hoagie?
He was trying to get us.
He's like, do you need to get back to the city? Do you need to get? And I'm like, yeah. And he essentially got us into this limo
that
he said was an Uber. And as it was driving away, we were like, is this an Uber? Like, what's going on?
I have to touch on the details. I'm sorry. I know you like to do these stories fast, but
it's not an interesting story.
There's details.
Okay,
we walked out to the thing, and then he picked up our bags and put them in the back. We're still trying to figure out what's going on. We're just confused. And so they're throwing the bags in the back. They throw us in the back of the car.
Physically?
I feel like they just picked us up and shoved us in the car. We start driving, and then we're sitting there, and we go, hey, how much is this?
That's how people get sex trafficked, right there.
Right. Because I was nervous at this point. I was actually very pissed off at this point.
If you guys don't know, which you probably don't, because James doesn't show emotion on camera. When he gets mad, he gets very tired. What? Oh my gosh. When he gets mad,
I'm so mad.
When he gets mad, he gets very quiet. And he holds his mouth a certain way and just makes me want to knock him out. He just holds his mouth this perfect little way of it's not pouting, but it's just
it's my smirk.
It's his mad mouth. And when he mad mouths me, it makes me want to knock him out. But anyway, he wasn't mad.
That there is some utility for the mad mouth in public when
that situation was definitely upsetting.
Yeah. So
They almost put us in a shipping container.
I was in a position where I was like, okay, the questions that need to be asked are not being asked right now. Mm-hmm. So I said to the driver, it was whatever the most important question would be.
Is this an Uber? He said, sure.
Yeah, something like that.
And then I said something about the price. I said, how much is it? He said like $90. I said, no. The guy told me $40, which that's not true. It was supposed to be like $60, but
the driver was actually the helper in this situation.
Yeah, he was like, oh, no, you need to get out.
Yeah, this isn't the right one. So he pulled off at the end. We had not made it to the end of the terminal yet. So he pulled off. We got out. And then I was just absolutely furious about that.
And at that moment, it was literally the moment that we were waiting for the other Uber that I sneezed one time. And when I sneeze, like when I have a tickle, I had a tickle in my throat earlier in the day, but I sneezed. And it was just downhill. I was like, I just got sick. Great.
The first sneeze.
The first sneeze is seriously like, it gets me. So I got sick in the third day, the third full day that we were in New York. I was so sick, but I was still hustling. I was editing videos. It was pretty intense.
So thanks to Mr. Scam Artist, we had to wait in the cold outside for another Uber to come.
And that's what got me sick.
And so she got sick from that moment because that's how science works. And we got in an Uber, went back, had a nice conversation with that Uber driver. Then we got to stay with Sarah at Sarah and John's office another night. They were kind enough to let us stay another night, and we stayed another day, and it was fun.
Yeah, it was great. Well, that's not true. I was sick that third day. The bodega downstairs, I just had so much soup. And it sucked because I couldn't taste it. So I had to like throw a ton of salt in there. It was probably really bad. And there was a moment where Sarah and Jeannie came to the office. We were obviously in the office working. And I'm happy that we didn't get them sick now that I think about it. Because that would have been the worst. Like, they're never working with us again. We just gave them a cold. But I don't make out with them. So,
Yeah.
But anyway, they came to the office.
As we do for an hour and a half a day, minimum.
Who?
Us.
Make out?
Yeah.
James, we are not.
It's part of our diet.
We're not 16. You're lucky if I like say anything to you.
We're not passionate, hormone-ridden teenagers.
But there was a moment while we were there that was really meaningful to me, and this was like the peak of the trip when and Sarah and John, if you guys are listening to this, just so you know, this moment meant a lot to me. When Jeannie and Sarah, I think John was there. Jeannie, Sarah, John, James, Chico Heimersmith,
hey.
James, and myself. So like the six of us, we were in the office and we weren't saying anything to each other. And we were just at our respective locations on our laptops, pitter-pattering away at the keys. And it was just silent. Nobody had to talk to each other. Nobody had to be funny. We just had things to do, maybe make a comment here or there. But it was just overall pretty silent, and we were just like laptop clubbing it, and it was
beautiful moment.
It was so meaningful to me because my goal with anybody that I interact with, like on a more personal level, is to get to the point in friendship and relationally where we don't really have to say anything to each other. We can just exist in the same room, and I don't know if that meant anything to them, but it meant something to me because it was like, okay, all of this work that I put in probably a year at that point beforehand, editing, working together with them, that it was like kind of coming to a head. And it's like, you know what? We're homies, at least a little bit, at least for that moment. And then I sneezed again and I was like, Jeannie, do you have any Advil? My head hurts. But that was just really, really nice.
That was a special moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad.
I texted James.
I'm glad you got to experience that.
Yeah. It meant nothing to James, clearly. But I texted you.
I was trying to focus on you as opposed to not on myself.
Damn it, Shirley.
Damn it, Shirley.
No, it was, I texted you in the middle of it, and I think you knew what it meant to me because we often have those moments. I think we actually have those moments a bit too much now where we're like.
With us?
Yeah. You and I.
Oh, yeah. It's like it means nothing to us.
No, like.
We're
silent all day.
Oh.
Like yesterday.
Yeah, that's just normal.
I spoke to you.
It's actually the other way around. This is special. We're actually talking.
Yeah. And I can't wait to not talk to you later on today.
Yeah,
that's gonna be so romantic.
Yeah.
Do you want to get ice cream today?
Oh my gosh,
girl,
that's a great idea.
Boo boo.
We're gonna go get some dairy-free ice cream from the greatest ice cream establishment in the world called Monkey Wrench SLC.
Actually, let me backtrack. This is totally unrelated to the podcast, but it's Friday night, so I actually don't think it would be a good idea because it's just gonna be like so many people and stuff. We're gonna have to deal with
this. That's why we go like now.
Yeah, but we have to shoot that other video.
Yeah, but screw that video.
Oh my gosh,
we're going to get some ice cream.
I don't know because it's gonna be cold the next couple days. This is
this is
if
big.
This
is big.
Looking at the weather.
Make phone calls.
If you are interested,
should we consult our financial advisor?
If you're interested at all in our creative process, that's it. Should we do this? No, we shouldn't. Okay. And then we start talking about something else completely different. And then it's such a mess. We need to be a bit more organized together.
So very quickly, one thing that, like I said, I came back, felt like I drank jet fuel. One thing that...
I came back feeling like I smoked heroin.
One thing that you can do after these trips, if you're intentional, is you can reflect on them once you get back.
Right.
And you can learn from that reflection. You can break down things that happened in your head, all the experiences, the things that were special to you about the trip, the things that inspired you. And you can start to realize how they can help you in the future, incorporating more of those things, all the things that you can learn from this sort of experience.
Mm-hmm.
That's fantastic. That's an example of how traveling and the experience of going to new places and having new experiences can change your mind forever. It's kind of like accomplishments. It's something that people can't take away from you.
Right.
And that is a truly powerful thing about spending, sometimes much more money than you initially anticipated.
Yeah, like
to go on a
on
trip.
A daily basis, you spend like $50 a day, like including the apartment.
For New York.
No. And like on your average day.
Oh, okay.
So we spend like $50 a day because our rent, let's divide that up by day. Right, Whenever we drive a car, we're spending money. We just don't feel it. In New York, you're spending like $1,000 a day. Like you spend so much money there.
Yeah.
It's insane.
So anyway, buying the ticket, investing. I'm thinking about the people who are sitting on their couch right now and they're like, I want to go travel, but I'm
take the freaking trip.
Not because it's such a big investment. I may not even have the money. I don't know how to get the money. I'm horrible with money. Traveling is something that people can't take away from you, what you get from it. And that is a good reason to not spend all of your money traveling. That's a good way to fail.
Balance it.
But create a balance in your life, save some money, and use that to travel. There's so many wonderful things that can come from it. And also, if you're like 16 years old and you can't get to New York City right now, even though you're so inspired by these New York City creators or the California creators or what have you, the Bangladesh creators,
Ooh.
Big. You can watch people online. You can be intentional about who you ingest on a daily basis in order to inspire yourself in the same way that we felt inspired while we were there in a small way.
Because when it's like you're the most like the 5 people you hang around, that goes for people that you're not actually hanging around, but you're surrounding yourself with in the sense of consuming their content. If you're like stuck in a small town or something, you can get out by watching people who live in Cape Town and just being inspired by it, and that causes you to execute on that A level.
Yeah, if you're intentional about not watching just the people that provide you escapism and shallow entertainment, but they provide you a very specific type of inspiration that you need, that can be very powerful.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think this is a good place to call it quits. Forever. But guys, thank you so much for listening, especially listening. Like, I'm blown away. And or watching. We do have a YouTube channel. If this has brought you any value, please leave us a comment or a review. And stay curious, my friends. Keep creating. Do all of the things. Appreciate your faces.
Appreciate you guys.
Goodbye.